What's up, everybody? It's your boy DJ Wonder Woman Could Kick My Ass, and this episode is dedicated to all those little men bitches out there that complained about having an all-woman screening at the Alamo Drafthouse. Is your butt sore? Do I need to get some ointment for that sore ass? You fucking asshole! My God, your life must be terrible. On this week's episode, Joel and I will take a look at the world of movie news and movie trailers that have dropped throughout the week and have a review of the new live-action DC film, Wonder Woman. It's a part of the DCU, the DCEU, whatever the fuck it's called. It's a part of it, and we're going to be reviewing it. So what are we going to think about it? You're going to have to sit down, relax, and find out. What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reel Me In, a movie podcast, where you didn't really ask for it, but hey, you know what, we're going to fucking give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where Joel and I will talk anything, everything, and, well, anything about movies. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chase Lee, and hey guys, listen, if you're searching on the internet for some Wonder Woman porn, because I know that's a thing out there, I know it's fancy, I know it's classy, and that's what you want in life. And, sometimes we just need a little Wonder Woman action. But if you were looking for that, and you are not a movie fan, you accidentally came across this episode for whatever godforsaken reason, and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully we can convince you to be one. This is episode 185, and like I said, if you're new to the show, welcome. What we usually do is we'll go over some movie news and some movie trailers that drop throughout the week, commentate on those, and review the big movie or movies coming out on the weekend. And on this week's episode is the good old DCEU extension of Wonder Woman. This is the fourth film in the so-called universe. Man of Steel 2013, BVS in 2016, Suicide Squad also 2016, and this is the first 2017 one. And DCEU films have been getting a lot of kind of mixed receptions and whatnot, so I'm sure you guys will be very interested to see what Joel and I think of it. Speaking of Joel, he is sitting over there in the corner, crying his eyes out because he just does that from time to time. Joel, how are we doing this week?
I'm good. I'm just kidding. I'm good.
I think he's crying from the fact that Man of Steel is a flat-out masterpiece of Superman, and he can't bear that. Sorry.
I like Man of Steel a lot. I do. I'm less pleased by the and we'll get to Wonder Woman later, but I was less pleased by the 2016 ones. But yeah, I'm excited about. I'm excited to talk about this, I should say.
But I don't give a shit about the movie. How are you doing, Joel? I want to know how you are my friend, my colleague, and my partner. I want to know how your life is doing. What the audience out there, they don't tune in for the movies. They want to know how Joel's life is going.
It's going pretty well. Pretty hectic right now. I started a new job recently, and I think I'm about 3 weeks into that. And it's heating up pretty well. I work at a video rental store, so that's kind of the dream. I'd always been wanting to work at one of those, and I do now. So we have a handful of those in my area, and I'm working at one, and it's a lot of fun. So
I don't know why it would be your dream or something. You act like you like movies or something. Anyways, I'm doing pretty well. It's just another week in the neighborhood, another week with no car and walking around. Funny little story, just real quick before we begin. Joel, do you remember on Friday? I'm going to try to paint a visual for you. Joel, you remember the monsoon that we got on Friday?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had to walk in that. I sprinted like a good half mile in my nice pants, and I was sprinting through puddles. It was pretty amazing. I felt like Wonder Woman did in the battlefield in the movie. So that was a great segue into our episode. Let's begin this fantastic piece of work, this piece of art that's on the internet. Joel, let's start with some movie news. And I believe I'm starting this one off, correct? Or would you like to start one of the controversy topics?
We'll bookend the segments with the superhero news, so I'll give this one to you.
Excellent. So Joel has informed me that there could possibly be a second villain in Avengers Infinity War. Now, as you guys know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is very fitting for this episode since we're talking about the DCU. The MCU has been going on since 2008 with like the first Iron Man, and now we're up to the last one being Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and beyond. And their end game is to have Thanos as this main villain. He's been plaguing throughout the other films and whatnot. He's going to be the main foe that everyone's going to have to fight, right? Well, it's very possible there could be a second one. Now, this makes sense to me for a lot of reasons. First of all, Thanos, if you guys have seen him in comic book lore, he is a powerful motherfucker. He has killed Avengers. He's like, I want you to imagine like combining all the Avengers into one. I think Thanos could still beat that. He's one of the most powerful villains in the universe. So a lot of people have been questioning, if they kill Thanos, where do they go from there? If you introduce kind of like, not a secondary villain, but a villain that's almost as equal to Thanos that they have to fight, Thanos could still be the puppet master. And I think that's what they want to kind of do, because as they continue on with these movies, you're going to have this like looming foe that's in the background that's kind of controlling everything. And Thanos is that. So if you kill him off, it's not going to have like that kind of impact that you want from these movies, because then all the villains will be even easier to beat, and it's just like, okay, they're just cannon fodder at this point. So it actually makes sense to me that there's going to be like kind of a secondary person that they probably have to fight, and then of course they'll probably tackle Thanos in the fourth Avengers, and then he'll probably still get away with it. But yeah, this makes total sense to me on a business front, on a story front. So Joel, what about you? Like, do you think killing Thanos off in either the third or fourth Avengers is good for it? And do you think it's a good idea to have like that secondary kind of villain for them to fight, so Thanos is still in the background?
It's weird because I feel like this news has made me realize that the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe feels like a Legend of Zelda game, and that there's a lot of bosses, and then there's the main boss. Like Thanos is Ganondorf, and all the other bosses there are, I forgot the names of the specific bosses in Legend of Zelda. I used to play that game a lot, the Ocarina of Time. But nevertheless, it feels interesting. I kind of don't know. I feel like it's possible that they could have just done a Deathly Hallows kind of thing, where you had the two parts of the big finale, and the first part was about the build-up to the finale, and now it feels like they're just going to have another villain to defeat. It does make sense from a business standpoint for them to have something like that, because what people expect in these movies is to see a movie and then at the end get a villain fight. But if this is going to be a sort of kind of part one and part two, just with different subtitles and that, then for whatever reason, I feel like they should just build up to the fight in some way. Maybe have obviously some action, but what I mean is like a build up to the main fight, and then have whatever the fourth one's going to be called, have that one be the big gigantic war scene, if you will, or whatever, combat, big gigantic special effects extravaganza scene in the second part of this finale. But I guess, yeah, from a business standpoint, I can see why they're doing that. I feel like also this could be a case of the second villain really just being one in the opening half of the movie that they defeat, and then they move on to Thanos. And perhaps it's the last. Perhaps it provides a clue. Perhaps it's the last one just in the narrative that they need to defeat before going on. I'm not sure. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out, because obviously they're going to want to have just Thanos for the second part. So they're going to have to get through this first villain to get to Thanos. I think that's what's going to happen. As for killing Thanos, I think it's inevitable that they will. I feel like Marvel's going to look a lot different in the 2020s So I feel like this is them going out with a bang. They're gonna. I think honestly that they're gonna probably kill some of the superheroes off, and they're also going to end the series with the main villain being a goner. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think I forgot the name of the villain. It's going to be, I think, the villain of the Black Panther movie, or something like, or some sort of, I don't know if it's the villain, but it's some sort of antagonistic character from the Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody who like turns bad from the events of that movie. I'm not sure. I feel like that villain is a different one though. So I think Michael. It's not the. I think Michael B. Jordan's the villain of the Black Panther movie, and this is not his character.
No.
So I think it's somebody else, possibly somebody who is a secondary villain in that one, and then kind of gains the power structure, if you will, after maybe the comeuppance of the Michael B. Jordan character. I'm not sure. We'll see. It's going to be interesting. It certainly sounds like a powerful villain, though.
Yeah, and like, if you guys would get super sweaty and nerdy for a second, if they kill Thanos off, I have a sneaky suspicion that Disney and Fox are working out a deal for Disney to license out Galactus. Because the only villains that are actually probably far superior than Thanos is either Galactus or a celestial god. And as we've seen from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, see, I don't consider that a spoiler because you don't know what the context is. After seeing that movie, I know that celestial gods exist. And those are the most powerful beings, like, in the universe. So it is possible to go beyond Thanos. But Joel is right. You kind of have to have that kind of, like, second to last level before you get to the boss, so you can build it up. Because you don't want just them to fight Thanos in the first, Infinity War, and he's just dead. And you're like, well, that was like... It was like a 10-year flaccid penis. Like, there was no, great climax. It was just like, oh, okay. Like, you want to build it up. So, yeah, totally makes sense for me. So, Joel, as you were talking, I was thinking to myself, like, what's, like, really rotten, like, right now is just everything Joel's saying. Like, there's nothing fresh about it. And I think Joel might complain that it might give him a Rotten Tomatoes rating later, so that was a terrible segue, but I tried. Joel, what is the next story? Because it was kind of sad that you weren't on last week's episode because it was perfect for it.
I know. It sort of heated up even within the last week, but in the wake of what appears to be underperforming on the part of Pirates of the Caribbean. Actually, there have been 3 separate controversies that broke this week, and they're various things. But the first one that we're going to come to involves Rotten Tomatoes. Now, oh boy. So this is an interesting tale. So Walt Disney believes that the so-called quote-unquote failure of Pirates of the Caribbean sort of comes from Rotten Tomatoes. And of course, as we all know, there's few things less understood on this earth than Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregate. It takes a bunch of reviews and then literally divides them up between positive and negative for the percentages, and then also does an average or a mean average or whatever you want to call it of the scores of each of those reviews into the not the user rating, into the average rating. That's the 1 out of 10, right below the percentage. That's all it does. But of course, because it's also got a lot of voices in terms of the critics that it includes, there's this weird idea that it is responsible for the make or break critical reception of a movie. So whenever people see that something that they really like gets a really low rating on Rotten Tomatoes, they blame Rotten Tomatoes as if Rotten Tomatoes is a person or some, partial voice. It's an impartial aggregate. That's all it is. So when studios get in on this really odd sense of misunderstanding the whole deal of Rotten Tomatoes, it really aggravates me and it makes me worry about humanity. So they blame the...
Joel, can I ask you, does it tan your hide?
It tans my hide.
All shades are red. Okay, just making sure.
Oh my gosh. So it's just so annoying. This is just so annoying. Everybody needs to really just grow up. That's what I'm going to say. I'm extending that to the studio reps who think that this is some sort of systemic bias against their movies. I don't understand the mindset here. I don't. I think that Rotten Tomatoes is generally kind of useful. There should not be so much, hanging on the percentage of a movie on Rotten Tomatoes. A lot of people just glance at it, and that's the wrong way to use Rotten Tomatoes. The way to use Rotten Tomatoes is to go to each movie, look at each review, see what people actually think about the movie. Don't just read the consensus that's, put up like a week before the movie's now, even though that makes no sense. But right now we have, again, this mindset that there's some like be-all end-all of like it's some official like measurement of quality. And so that spread to studio reps. And now they're saying, oh, well, if our movie fails, that's because of Rotten Tomatoes. It's because of some aggregate system where people look at it. I just don't understand that. It's spawned from the early days of when who was it? Flickster? No. Who was it that owned Rotten Tomatoes back in the day? IGN, I think.
Yeah.
From the days of IGN now through Flickster, and I think Warner Brothers now owns them. It's just annoying, beyond annoying. And now, we have a lot of people blaming Rotten Tomatoes for the failure of movies at the box office. Maybe people just didn't see the movie. That might be that might be the case.
You think, Joel? You think?
Right. I mean, and plus, people saw Pirates of the Caribbean. It's actually the failure of the studios for putting $230 million into the movie and then hoping that people would see it.
Ding, ding, ding! We have a winner, folks.
So that's a ridiculous price for anything, honestly. Like, Fate of the Furious cost $250 million, and it hasn't even made that back in the
Well, Joel, let's keep things fair. That's how much you and I charge when we sell our bodies on the street. But I mean, we don't complain. So I mean,
that's true. But that's a different market.
I gotcha. Yeah.
No, but it's a bunch of nonsense. It's an echo chamber of nonsense, and I just, studios. Sometimes this is your fault. This is your fault. You put $125 million into The Boss Baby, and it's barely broken even. You put $230 million into the Pirates of the Caribbean, it hasn't made that back yet. You put $250 million in, again, The Fate of the Furious, and it hasn't made that number back in the U.S. yet. It's at 223. And you're grossly spending hundreds of millions of dollars on this stuff. It doesn't make the money back because people are getting tired of in a general sense, people are getting tired of the wide release structure right now of these movies that are the same thing over and over again. You keep putting so much money into them, and then they don't make money back, and you're going to blame Rotten Tomatoes? It makes no sense at all to do that. You're basically blaming your viewers, first of all, because what you're saying is people are going to read Rotten Tomatoes and then not going to see the movie. That's what it's saying. And it is utterly ridiculous. Let's get off of this and get on to more important things, like, anything else really in this in this world. So that's the first controversy. I want Chase to give his thoughts here, because I think that it's ridiculous, and I'm curious to hear your response, Chase.
Joel, what are you talking about? I love when people bitch about Rotten Tomatoes. Okay, so there's a reason why Joel is the good cop, and there's a reason why I'm the bad cop. You're a fucking idiot if you think it's Rotten Tomatoes' fault because your movie failed. I saw Baywatch and Pirates with my own goddamn eyes, and I can tell you, Baywatch is a dumpster fire. It absolutely deserves that whatever 12% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales, I thought was average at best. I'd say a 30 or 40% would suffice. It's a little too low for my taking, but it's still justified. It's not a fresh movie. So you're going to sit there and say, well, you know, Joel is correct. And people out there need to realize Rotten Tomatoes is not a critic. It takes all these reviews from all over the world, puts it into a fucking pool, and goes, all right, here's the percentage of people that say they like it, and here's the percentage of people that say they don't like it. That's it. So for people that think that Rotten Tomatoes is a critic of some sort, then you need help. You need to go to a hospital and get your brain checked. Second thing, I remember when BVS and Suicide Squad came out last year, and people were like, Rotten Tomatoes has this bias against DC. Did you hear what Joel said? Rotten Tomatoes is partially owned by Warner Brothers. Do you really fucking think if this was, you know, the case, and, you know, they were just so biased against you know, Warner Brothers and DC, like, Warner Brothers owns Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it makes it makes my head hurt that people just fucking think this. But I think what it boils down to is that people are getting tired of it. Like, people are getting sick and tired of the same old schlock over and over again. Because if you honestly sit back and think about it, all 5 Pirates movies are basically the same damn thing. Maybe a couple things are tweaked here and there, but they're the same damn thing. And I think by the 5th one, people just realize, I'm tired of this shit. It's kind of like with Transformers. Yeah, it's doing well overseas, but here domestically, it's going down because people are getting sick and tired of the same old shit. Make better movies.
Box office estimates just came out, and it supports that, but we'll get to that at the end of the show.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, listen, make a good movie. If you make a good movie, you're going to do well. I know it's a weird fucking concept, but when you look at Wonder Woman, which we're about to talk about, the thing's rocking at 93%. So, if you make a good movie, people will respond. If you make a shit movie, I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't ass kiss. I tell it like it is. That's why I really like our PR reps that Joel and I work for in Dallas when they screen movies and whatnot. I've told them straight to their face, like, yo, this movie's terrible. They don't care. That's their job, is to just get everyone's responses and move on. They don't complain about it. They don't go, well, it's their fault that the movie failed. No, they don't. Like, it's just, I don't fucking understand. If you make a better movie, then people will respond. And the other thing that kind of irked me reading about was the studios were saying that these movies used to be bulletproof. They used to be critic-proof. What? Like, so you're saying that we should relax on big blockbusters because they're big blockbusters and they should just, entertain people for 2 hours and move on? No. Like, that's their job, is to review these movies. And if you give them the same old garbage, $200 million of bloat, then they're going to say something. And the other thing that Joel forgot to mention is that, there's a rumor going around that they might pull press screenings because of this. That's also a very bad idea. Listen,
I forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, if you pull this shit, it's going to look bad on everybody. Listen, I realize it's a gamble when you screen a movie 2 weeks in advance or a week in advance or hell, even a month in advance. You have to do it, though. It's a part of marketing. If you want that good word out, and if you're very confident on your film, you have to get that word out. Case in point, Wonder Woman. Movie screened like 2 weeks before the release date for critics. Critics loved it. Now that gets the hype train rolling for all the fan screenings, and once the fan screenings hit, the hype goes even more into the opening weekend, and it actually will blow up to probably $100 million plus opening weekend. We don't have the numbers yet. We'll find out at the end. But it's a strategy that works. But if you pull those press screenings, you're doing nothing but harming your movie. So yeah, I think the whole thing is just stupid. So all those producers out there of Baywatch and Pirates, they're bitching and moaning about this. Like what Joel said, grow the fuck up, stop acting like a kid, and just make a good movie. That's all you have to do. I know, weird concept. But we'll make it through, ladies and gentlemen. We'll make it through. So, all right, I'm done, Joel. Let's move on.
What's funny is now that Wonder Woman is doing well, of course, people are saying, well, that's because of Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, ha ha ha.
Oh, fuck off.
It's just
Seriously.
absolutely ridiculous because that's a pick and choose kind of thing. If a movie does well, that means Rotten Tomatoes is working. If a movie doesn't do well, it means it's a just terrible thing. I don't know. It's just okay.
It's almost like how people operate with politics in this country. If it works in their favor, oh, it's the best thing ever. When it works against it, well, fuck the other side. So it's like it's so stupid. Like, people, you're adults. These are adult people. So it blows my mind.
Oh boy. All right. So our next controversy involves a rather under the radar animated movie. It's coming out later this year, I think. It's called Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarfs. And people are probably wondering what this is, but I'm going to tell you. So this is an animated movie in which Snow White is a bit less, let's say, slim than the usual animation or animated representation of the character. Think back to the original movie, anything that's been made since then. You know, generally speaking, traditionally slim person. So now we have somebody who isn't. This has spawned one of the most disastrous ad campaigns I've ever seen. It is reprehensible, and then it just became horrible. So the poster for this movie states, what if Snow White wasn't pretty anymore? And what if something about the dwarfs, but really that was less important. It was, what if Snow White wasn't pretty anymore? Now, that is probably the worst bit of PR decision making I've ever seen, perhaps, or in a long time. I'm really thinking back, and I have a pretty good memory for this stuff. Pretty sure I have not seen anything this awful. So, the trailer drops. We're going to talk about the quality of the trailer later. But I can talk about the properties of the trailer, which is, of course, what it represents or presents to us. It makes the Seven Dwarfs look like perverts. Let's just say that. I think that Chase can agree with me on this. You have them very, slobberingly drooling over the image. We don't see it, of course, but over the image of Snow White dropping a nightgown or something. And then, of course, she becomes less traditionally slim, let's say, and then they're horrified. This is what the studio is presenting the movie as. The studio is presenting the movie as the Seven Dwarfs are perverts, and Snow White's not quote unquote pretty anymore. What is up with this? You have Chloe Grace Moretz is the voice, I believe, of Snow White in this movie, and she was even possessed of the determination to apologize for this movie. She actually apologized. You have the star of the movie having to go to Twitter or wherever she went to apologize for the movie that she stars in. What is going on with the studio? I'm speechless. I'm speechless at everything surrounding this movie. Its existence, first of all, because I don't understand this premise. It's entirely premised on the character's weight and physical appearance. In 2017, that seems rather harsh. And then you have an ad campaign that basically embraces everything about what the movie's about, apparently. And I'm at a loss. Chase, can you help me make sense of this? Do you have any idea what's going on here?
Okay, so this is a movie podcast, right? But I'm gonna get a little, Dr. Love on you for a little bit. Beauty, first of all, is subjective. A lot of people find different things, or different, beauty in different things. I do not like just on a personal note, I don't like like really modelly skinny women. Like, I'm sorry, if you want to fuck a bag of bones, I guess just eat a bucket of fried chicken and fuck that. But I don't understand like this mentality of like, if you are skinny and stuff like that, you are beautiful and stuff, and that pisses me off. It's like I said, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. A lot of people see things differently, so fuck off on the studio for that. Second of all, why would you put this on a poster? Like, fucking why? Like, Joel is right. Like, we'll get to the trailer in a second, but like, just as far as advertising and marketing goes, did you really think this was going to go over well? And on top of all that, I don't understand why they did this they did this at Cannes, right? They put the poster up in the Cannes Film Festival, right?
Yes, they did. Okay,
so you're making basically foreign people look bad. You're basically saying like they only care about looks, and like this will target towards them, and the marketing's toward them and whatnot. Did you really not think this was gonna shoot back to the U.S. and we weren't gonna talk about it? Like, I don't know if it's a cultural thing. I don't know if it's a territory thing where they're just like, oh, we're this is not in the U.S. or wherever, we can get away with this stuff. I don't care what country you're in, you shouldn't be doing this. Like, it's a bad image, on little girls and whatnot. It's just when people see that, they are influenced by that. I know Joel knows this because when we were teenagers, we were dumb as fuck. So when you have these teenage girls looking at this or little girls looking at this, they're impressionable. They don't know better. So like, it's manipulative. It's disgusting. I don't know why they did this. And Chloe Grace Moretz, good for you for calling them out on Twitter and whatnot. She's the star of the movie. She got paid to do a voiceover work. She doesn't even know what the movie looks like, because people have to keep in mind when anime movies happen, stars or whatever go to record the lines, they don't even know what the movie's going to look like. So she probably recorded lines, got paid, and went. Good for her. It's a job. She did her thing and she left. And now she's like starting to see like what this movie actually is and stuff. And you're like, what the fuck? Because like when she probably read the script or the little excerpts that they gave her, it probably sounded like a nice little wholesome family movie. And then when you watch the trailer and you look at this advertising, you're like, dude, this studio is like doing some pretty twisted shit. So yeah, no, I'm gonna say no on this story, like a big old fat no. But yeah, that's not good.
Not good at all.
Well, I mean, because I think one of the things I really liked about the Wonder Woman advertising is a lot of people were posting up pictures of like little girls on Twitter, like their daughters or whatever, like looking up at these posters and realizing like, I could be that. I could be, this strong, badass, inspirational female. And then when you go back 100 years in time and you look at this bullshit, you're like, what? I thought we were progressing, I thought we were making, we're going forward and we're not going backwards. But apparently some studios are like, fuck it, we're, greasy old fat white men just like sitting there, laughing, like smoking our cigars, going, this is going to make a lot of money. I'm sexist. So, yeah, I'm going to say no to the advertising. Yep.
Yeah, it reeks of two things. It reeks of figure shaming, if you will. It reeks of a bit of misogyny there. And on the note of misogyny, let's move on to the third thing, or the fourth thing, I guess.
Oh, Joel with Joel, did you go to Segway school? That was brilliant. That was brilliant.
Yeah, because I figured it was a great transition. I originally actually had the red shoes thing first on my list of the three controversies, but then I was like, oh my gosh, there's a connection here. So as everybody,
things are connecting. Illuminati's real. Oh my god! Like you start realizing life is just nothing but a sham.
Well, that's always been the case. I'm just kidding.
True.
All right. So, as anybody who has a computer knows, there have been women-only Wonder Woman screenings this past week, specifically at the Alamo Drafthouse. They've been hosting. They had one. I think they might have scheduled another. I don't know if it's taken place yet, but they had one women-only screening of Wonder Woman. Why? I'm not going to ask that question because it's really none of my business why they would do that, although it's really like not hard to figure it out why. For two reasons. One, of course, they're going to do that. This is a woman-empowering movie. We're going to get to that in our review. This was at Alamo Drafthouse. They commonly have themed screenings like this. This absolutely makes sense. If it makes sense for any theater chain, basically, it's Alamo Drafthouse. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if really any theater chain did this. I'd be shocked if Alamo Drafthouse didn't do this, though.
Yeah.
Because it just makes sense. They do this all the time. They have special nights for a specific demographic. And so they had women-only screenings of this. That's awesome. I applaud them for that. And, of course, the men came out in droves because men are the most, straight white men, I'll just say it, straight white men are the most prosecuted, or persecuted, I should say, and maybe prosecuted. I don't know. Maybe they would think that they're prosecuted too.
It's true. Joel is absolutely 100% correct. We go to the meetings every single week. Like we are so scrutinized in America. It's ridiculous.
SWMA meetings.
Yeah.
No, but I'm being sarcastic. We are the most privileged people in the country. This does not affect us at all, other than the fact that really, actually, thinking about it though, men would have been welcome. They would have been welcome because Alamo Drafthouse is not a corrective facility. They're not able to keep people out. They just hosted the screening and it was themed as women only. But of course, because men who are fanboys of things, fanboys, not fans, but fanboys. That's a whole other podcast. There's a difference between them. I am a fan of, let's say, Harry Potter. I'm not a fanboy of Harry Potter. Those are the worst kind of people. Anyway, of course, superhero movie fanboys are terrible. They're different. It's a different word. They're not fanboys, let's just say. They're another F starting word with the word boys at the end.
Fuck boys? Is exactly. That the word you're looking for?
I like suggestion.
Okay. Well, see, Joel's all about subtlety. I'm all about bluntness. This is why we work.
Anyway, it's become like it was worrisome at first. It's now become funny because people are just kind of really like lathering it on, I guess, on just how terrible they are. Like this is really it's uncovered a terribleness in some people that's really worrisome to me. But on a more specific note, it's kind of become funny because of the outrage. Outrage is always, no matter the situation, always fun to watch as it unfolds. And Chase and I have probably been very closely watching this. I don't know how closely Chase has, but I've been very closely watching this. And it's amusing in a slightly worrisome, mostly like exasperating way that's just like, grow up, people. This is not what you should be worrying about in life. We have so many other problems right now in the real world.
Yeah.
And this, it's just, I just don't know. Would this have been the case if? And I'm actually just looking at the a link. I've forgotten this information, but a link with a headline, and it's from 2005. Joss Whedon to write and direct Wonder Woman. What would this have been like in 2005? Have we regressed? I think we've regressed, and I feel like this outrage would not have come up in 2005. It just feels like we've gone backward in this divide of like, it again reeks of misogyny to me. It's disgusting, and I applaud Warner Brothers, or I applaud Alamo Drafthouse for offering these. Warner Brothers obviously for probably going along with it. And it's great to see, themed screenings like that. You're totally right about that Wonder Woman poster that you were talking about just now. I know exactly. It's actually a Justice League poster. Mm-hmm. There's an image going around of a little girl dressed up in Wonder Woman clothing, and it's kind of a perfect picture because you have the little girl slightly covering the Flash in the image. She's standing in front of the Flash and not looking at the Flash. She's looking up at Wonder Woman. And it's just a great frame for that photo. because the framing of that photo is perfect because you have the clear image and theme going on there that Wonder Woman is an empowering figure.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see the movie, well, again, we'll get to that more specifically later. But when you see the movie, there's a reason for that, and it's just a great weekend for young female children. At least those who don't pay attention to news involving red shoes and the Seven Dwarfs.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if that little girl in that photo were to learn about that, that would be. Nobody tell her, please, if you know her. Anyway, so it's been a fun week for controversies because I like ranting about these things sometimes. It's great to have an outlet like this where I can do that. And I worry about society, but it's still fun to talk about this stuff because it's an outlet. This is what we do. And but I do want to knock some sense into people who are just so vehemently against all screenings. Anyway, Chase, you can have your say now on this one.
Well, first of all, I can't wait for the slew of comments in the comments section of people calling Joel and I libtards or conservatives. You guys love those words. And snowflakes. Second of all, on a fun note, I hope Alamo Drafthouse will sponsor our show later down the road because I absolutely love that theater chain. I have a membership thing that I sign up with them and whatnot. It's such a fun theater. It's such a fun atmosphere, and that's why I like them is when they do stuff like this and they have like an all-woman screening. Like throughout the month of May, I believe it was an all-women's month, like an all-woman screening. What was the complaint about that? So it's so stupid. And when Joel, when you re-listen to this episode and you listen to the beginning, I made a joke in the beginning calling them men bitches, complaining about this because it's just so dumb. Like you, oh my god, fucking hypocrites. Listen, I don't associate myself with any political party, but if I had to, I'd probably be more in the liberal progressive mindset. The fact that conservatives love to use that word snowflake a lot, and they get easily, they throw it at, people that get so easily offended. You get easily offended when Alamo Drafthouse is like, we're going to do an all-woman screening of Wonder Woman. Go see another goddamn screening, you fucking asshole. Like, do you have to go to that one? Do you have to go to that one that you're just like, oh my god, I wanted to go to that one so bad. Go to a different one, you fucking chump. Like, there's so many Okay, so...
And the irony is, I believe that the second one that was announced has not happened yet. I think it's happening on the 6th. Mm-hmm. And that's the one that actually spawned even more controversy. So you have to think, are they just not going to see the movie for 4 days?
Yeah, it's so stupid. Okay, you need your little safe space now. Like, does this offend you? Like, oh my god. Like, well, when I heard Alamo did this, I was like, good for them. Like, and Joel's right. It's none of our business. If you guys have never heard of the Alamo, they're a very kind of liberal, progressive theater chain. Like, I've talked to the CEO before, Tim League, and he's a cool dude. Like, he's very relaxed. He doesn't care about controversy. He just does what he thinks is going to be fun and very attractive for his theater chain by doing stuff like this, or doing an all-woman month in May, or right now they have a David Lynch month, and they screen all of his movies. So like they're used to doing stuff like this, with these like theme screenings and themed months and whatnot. I applaud them. They do something different, and they're not like an AMC or Cinemark that reeks of like corporate anal blasting, where it's like every time you go into one of those theaters, you're like, man, this just feels like a hospital. It's just like squeaky clean. It's like very corporate. There's nothing really fun about it. And then when you go to like the Alamo Drafthouse, it's a super fun theater chain. On top of all that, they got some bomb ass beer selection and food, by the way. So listen, Alamo Drafthouse, I do not care that they did this at all. I just I feel really sad for all these quote-unquote meninists out there that just love to bitch and complain about stuff when it's not going their way, when, like what Joel said, white males have the most privilege in this country by far. So you're a little bitch. you little pussy. So that's what you are. It's okay. It's okay if you need a safe space. Like, do you want Joel and I to, like, pat you on the back and, like, tuck you in at night, roll the covers on you, and, like, sing you a bedtime story? If that's what you want us to do, we will do that. Because apparently you get easily butthurt about this stuff. But it's okay. It's okay. You know, the world's scary out there. It's scary out there, and you have people like me and Joel that you just want to call libtards and stuff, and, just, like, all that. It's just... It's absolutely hilarious. You guys are making yourselves look bad. So for all those people out there that boycotted these so-called woman screenings, my God, do you have a lot of free time? I wish Joel and I had a lot of free time like that, to where we could bitch and complain about the internet, or on the internet. But then again, we do every single Sunday. But
one of my colleagues, Mark Dusick, he's from out in Chicago. He actually tweeted that. He's like, imagine having, nothing better to do than complain about women and Wonder Woman screenings. I mean, it's just...
No, I think...
the life that would be. Oh, boy.
Oh, it's exactly true. Like, Joel and I look at this and we go, man, I wish we had all that free time to do something. So, this is just so fucking dumb. And Alamo Drafthouse... keep doing your thing, man. Keep doing shit like this. Keep pissing people off, because this is what I like about you. Tim League does not give a shit. And Tim League, if you're listening to this, please sponsor our show. I love your theater chain. All right, last bit of news. And this has actually been ongoing, because when Joel sent me the notes for the episode, I read it, and, like, after he sent that, like, the next day they started adding more characters and more cast members and whatnot. They're really shaping up this new Mutants movie from 20th Century Fox to really kind of carry over the mantle from the old X-Men and really kind of get us acquainted with new X-Men as they continue on this franchise. So the news is that they added characters like Cannonball, Sunspot, what was the other one I read? It was like Blue something. They're adding all these very obscure characters, which... on the surface looks like a bad idea, because if you don't have, like, Wonder Woman or Storm or Cyclops, it could turn away general audiences. But at the same time, think back to the year 2000. If you were not a comic book fan, when the first X-Men came out, you didn't know who Cyclops, Storm, Wolverine, Professor X. You were getting acquainted to them, and as the years progressed, you start to love them more and more. They could do that with this one, to where, they'll have the New Mutants come out, and they'll have all these, like, obscure characters for the general audience, and be like, I don't know who Sunspot is or Cannonball or whatnot, but if the movie's good, it will entice them to go see more and more with these characters. So I think actually putting all these kind of obscure characters to the public in this movie is such a great idea, because if they can nail this, which I think if you want to look on the surface, I think 20th Century Fox is doing just as good or even better than Disney, actually. I fully mean that. When you have two great R-rated hits in a row like this, I don't know what they're doing over there with their management team, but they are really churning out some good stuff. So I'm looking forward to the New Mutants. I'm looking forward to them adding new characters so we can get acquainted with them, love them, and continue on this franchise. So I just... when you see stuff like Deadpool and Logan, you just get even more excited for the 20th Century Fox kind of Marvel universe. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the Dark Phoenix movie. And, of course, Deadpool 2. I mean, Joel, are we kind of like in this 20th Century Fox Marvel renaissance? And do you think it's a good idea to add kind of more these lesser-known X-Men characters to kind of launch their new kind of X-Men franchise?
I mean, hey, it worked. In the building of the MCU, it worked because Iron Man was a little more obscure at that point. Now, of course, everybody knows who he is, but that was because of the movies, and he got a lot of more circulation in the comic book form after that happened. And you're right about the original X-Men. I was a pretty perceptive kid, but I was only vaguely aware of their existence. Cyclops, Storm, Professor X, all of that. I knew who Wolverine was. He was popular, but nevertheless, I mean, it's really exciting because they're taking a risk doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for a lot of the X-Men stuff. I've been a fan of the movies, or most of them at least, for a while now. Ever since they started, especially the team-centered ones. This sounds like another one that's going to be team-centered, and I'm really excited about that. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited about all of this new movement. I think New Mutants. No, I think Dark Phoenix is the one that opens on my birthday next year. So that's a nice little birthday present.
Yeah.
This year Marvel's giving me Thor Ragnarok, which I'm actually seeing on the evening of my birthday because it opens on the 3rd, and then Thursday night previews make it the 2nd. So that's my birthday, and then next year will be Dark Phoenix, and I'll probably see that Thursday or Friday. So I mean, I'm liking that. They both sound like a lot of fun. I'm excited for this new cycle of X-Men to come through. We've had this happen twice now, and it's worked both times. I think it could work a third time. And yeah, I'm really excited.
Well,
really.
to touch upon what you said, like taking a risk. Like I said, I don't know what has happened over there at the Marvel division at Fox, but they're taking a lot of risk lately, and if it's been paying off. They took a risk with Deadpool, making that R-rated and being what it was. It made over $700 million worldwide. They took a risk on Logan. That made a shit ton of money worldwide. Like, I love the fact that they're just like, you know what? We know what we have. We're going to take more of, like, kind of this, like, adult approach, like, which I was reading about earlier this week, that 20th Century Fox wants to take more of an approach as, like, an adult studio, which is great. Like, I'm glad that, like, they're saying, like, we're not going to be totally bound to a PG-13 rating. If we want to go to an R rating, we can totally do that. Now, make no mistake about it, Dark Phoenix and New Mutants will be PG-13. However, I like the fact that they have that option now where they can go, I don't know, does this work in kind of this R-rated realm, or do we need to go back to PG-13? Because that's the one thing I really appreciated about, like, what James Mangold said about Logan was they didn't want to make it an R rating because of the gore and the violence. They wanted to make it because it was true to the actual character, and they wanted to kind of really showcase what they can do with the character and, the kind of emotional turmoil that's within him. And if you make that R-rated, you can make it more towards like an adult-oriented drama versus like a PG-13 saturated movie. Because as much as I do like the X-Men films sometimes, the PG-13 rating does bother me quite a bit, because I want them to kind of go to those dark places. I want them to go to those horrific places, because if you think about it, X-Men's like a sci-fi horror franchise. So if you make them, more kind of edgier and more mature, like I'm totally down for it. So I love the fact that they're just taking all these risks. They're making things R-rated if they need to. Like, it's just, I love it, man. I love when studios are willing to play ball a little bit and, not play it safe. So this is definitely a good sign of them doing that by adding all these B-level characters. Now, I'm sure all the comic book fanboys out there, Joel, will be like, these aren't, B-level people. And it's like, well, I don't read the comics as much as, some people. I just kind of judge it off the movies and whatnot. But Joel's right. We grew up in the 90s, so when you watch that animated X-Men show, they had the main cast. They had Wolverine, Storm, Cyclops, and stuff. So we kind of knew that going into the movies, but you're right. We're not, like, up to date on these characters, so it's exciting to kind of see them on screen. So that's Absolutely. It for the news, guys. Kind of a long one, but that's okay. We had 3 controversial topics back-to-back because Joel is crazy and decided to do that in the notes. So, all right, so let's move on to some trailers, guys. Very, very interesting trailer week, for sure. Let's see. Looking at my list here. Oh, shit. Okay. Well, Joel, we have to start out with Steven Soderbergh, so go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. This actually might be the one that I'm most excited about. Of the 4 that I'm excited for, the 5 that we're going to talk about. But nevertheless, Logan Lucky dropped his trailer this week, finally. I am so excited about this. It looks like a heist movie. It's got Channing Tatum, Daniel Craig with a cool American accent that I can't wait to hear in the actual movie. Love that accent, whatever he's doing there. It looks like so much fun. I'm a huge fan of Steven Soderbergh. I've never talked about that because, he's been in quote-unquote retirement for a while now. Not actually been retired, but nevertheless, his version of that. This one just looks like, he's coming back to it with very strongly. A really fun-looking movie. It comes out in August, right?
Yeah. It's
August
yeah.
or something. Yeah, I can't wait for this. It looks funny. It looks intriguing. It looks like it's going to have a lot of twists in it. He does that really well. When Steven Soderbergh works in comedy, he's not just working with comedy. He's working with an actual plot. He's just look at the Ocean's movies. The Informant was a great movie. All of this stuff. He's one of the most prolific directors out there. The first Magic Mike, which he directed, and the second, which he did the cinematography for. I just think this movie looks like so much fun. It's got a great cast. Hilary Swank's in it. I'm kind of forgetting a lot of the people in this movie, but
Joel, you totally forgot about the great introducing Daniel Craig bit. That was so funny.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, I can't wait for that performance. I feel like that might be one of those that is a really great comedic performance that maybe it doesn't actually get nominated, but it gets a lot of conversation, like at the end of the year when people are going back to revisit movies and talk about, the possibilities, outside possibilities for supporting actor. I feel like, from what we're seeing, that Daniel Craig could be one of those. I mean, I don't want to get into predicting the Oscars yet, but I'm just saying, I feel like that's one of those performances that's going to take the critical world by storm. I think that people are going to love it. It certainly looks like one of those performances that's gonna own the screen. He looks really funny. I mean, this is James Bond, and he's acting like a complete doofus. He's got this awesome American accent that sounds like molasses mixed with sugar, mixed with I don't know, but it just looks so good. I had a grin on my face the whole time. There are a few trailers as well edited as Steven Soderbergh trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Every time a trailer for a Steven Soderbergh movie comes out, treat, because of just how it's edited. You have some that are sort of typically edited, like the Contagion trailer or whatever, but Magic Mike had a great trailer, Haywire had a great trailer. These trailers that Soderbergh gets are just awesome, and this is no exception. I can't wait for this movie. So yeah, I'm trying not to get into the plot too much because I feel like there are a lot of surprises. Plus, it doesn't give us a whole sense of the plot. Just very broadly seems like a heist movie, but yeah, I'm stoked. I'm stoked for this. I cannot wait.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to do like a basic plot, Channing Tatum, Adam Driver are brothers. They hire Daniel Craig to kind of help them steal something, and that's all I'll say. What I really like about the trailer was the energy. Just like what Joel said, I love the way it was kind of cut together. It was really exciting. The characters look like they're fully realized, almost like borderline caricature, but it's just so enjoyable to watch. I really like the mix of basically the movies that they were advertising in the beginning of the trailer. From the director of Ocean's 11, 12, 13, and Magic Mike. Soderbergh is really adding that Ocean's flavor to the cinematography and look of Magic Mike, and he's putting that together to have Logan Lucky.
Yep.
So I really kind of like this kind of modern Soderbergh with his cinematography, because it's definitely something that stands out among the rest, and really kind of adding that, like I said, that energy and that story kind of fun from the Ocean's movie. So he's kind of doing the amalgamation of the two. Looks great. The performances look out of this world and look just so bonkers and just kind of fun to watch. Adam Driver and Channing Tatum, never expect them to be brothers ever in in conversation. It's just sorry, I hit my mic. But yeah, them as brothers is really kind of weird. But yeah, Daniel Craig is probably going to be the scene stealer for sure. And that introducing Daniel Craig in the trailer was absolutely hilarious, and kind of reminded me of an old school type of trailer that you would see from the 70s or something. So I really appreciated that kind of aesthetic.
The introducing Daniel Craig thing made me howl.
It was so great. Well, and I think it was also the shot they had him on, because he looked so excited. He was in the back of a car or something. He was introducing Daniel Craig. So great. But yeah, that trailer definitely made me more excited for that one for sure. Speaking of trailers that made me more excited for movies that I didn't even expect. I had no idea this movie was even production. I had no idea it was even in pre-production. I have no idea it even existed. hold on. my phone went dead. I forgot the title. The Mountain Between Us. I was about to say the Mountain For Us. I don't know why. Guys, it's early in the morning. Anyways, The Mountain Between Us. Idris Elba, Kate Winslet. Very simple plot. They meet up at an airport. Flights get delayed. They go on a private plane, and they crash into the Alps, and they have to survive. So it's basically The Grey, except minus the wolves, minus the badass Liam Neeson, bottle Knuckles, and add another person. I liked the trailer. I really did. And I'm kind of a sucker for one location movies that center basically with like one or few more characters in one location for the duration of the movie and whatnot. I love survival movies, so that's also a guilty pleasure of mine. So I'm already down for this. And when you add the talent, the powerhouse talent of Idris Elba and Kate Winslet, I'm sold. Even if the movie's just so basic and average, what I like about those two actors is that they elevate the material. That is what's great and exciting about this movie, is to see them kind of interact, because I don't think, Joel, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they have ever been in a movie before together. So seeing, I've adored Kate Winslet since, I was a kid when I saw her in Titanic, and of course Idris Elba. Come on, the guy's a fucking badass. I was like watching him and everything. So survival movie with them two, stuck in the mountains. Sign me up. So I've never read the book, so I don't know, what the ending is. I don't know where it's going to go. But with survival movies, it usually ends one or two ways. They're either going to survive or they're going to die. So I will. I'm definitely more excited for this movie than I thought I would be because of the trailer and the talent involved. Joel, what did you think about it?
Yeah, it's certainly not because of the title. I feel like that's a pretty on-the-nose title.
The reason why I kind of shuddered at it a little bit, because it kind of reminded me of the title to the terrible movie, The Space Between Us, which I've heard is terrible. So,
right. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read the book either. I won't give it away, but there is a couple of details in the trailer about the stakes for characters that are off-screen, if you know what I mean. The reason that those people are flying, for instance, the reasons I should say that those people are flying, it just makes it a lot more urgent, and it looks really solid. I'm a fan of survival movies too. I think that this could be quite a good one. Leaning on the talents of Idris Elba and Kate Winslet is a good idea. I don't think they've been in a movie together either, so that's going to be an interesting thing to see them play off each other. Idris Elba looks terrific. Both of them really look terrific. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it has great cinematography too, very crisp.
Yeah.
Which I'm excited for that. Looks like a beautiful location. So I'm excited for that. I mean, it just pulls me in. I hadn't really heard of it. I knew that a movie called The Mountain Between Us was coming out, but I didn't know what it was about or anything. And then I noticed that there was a trailer. I was like, oh, I'll watch that. And I liked it. It's a really solidly edited trailer. It presents its premise really well, and I'm excited. I don't know when it comes out. I didn't take note of that, but
I think it was towards like kind of like winter months. It was anywhere from like September to December. I know that's not really like accurate or that helps anyone, but I think that was kind of in the fall. But I don't know about you, Joel, but what fascinates me about survival movies or like one location movies, I'm always really fascinated on how they end. Like the ending is what is going to make or break that movie, and that's what makes or breaks any survival movie or any type of one location movie. I always am just very curious to see how they're going to end it. If there's going to be like a twist, or if they're going to go balls out and like everyone's just going to die or whatnot. So yeah,
if it's ambiguous, like The Grey was.
True. Yeah.
They did that really well. And yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely a movie that was not on my radar at all. Now it is. Definitely another movie that I was aware of, but now it's even more on my radar. Joel, would you like to introduce the good old whodunit Clue movie on a moving train?
Yeah, okay. One of my favorite novels of all time is being adapted again. That is Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. This one, like the 1970, I think it was 1974 or something, movie directed by Sidney Lumet. This one has an incredible cast. Johnny Depp People can look up who he plays. It's pretty neat. Um, Daisy Ridley, Judi Dench, Kenneth Branagh as Hercule Poirot, and I can't wait to watch his mustache in action. Oh boy, that mustache, man! Oh, I love it. Anyway, it's more of an announcement trailer, if anything, because it's really just Kenneth Branagh is walking along a train, and we see kind of the different players in the mystery, and the actors playing them. Leslie Odom Jr., just a bunch of people basically. It's quite the cast, and it's a solid little announcement trailer. I will admit that I was excited for this, and I was going to be excited for this regardless of how the trailer was, because this novel is a masterpiece. It's a great piece of work. I'm a huge Agatha Christie fan, and I've read most of her novels, and this is my favorite of them. So if they had to pick one, they picked the right one to do. I really would want them to do more. Come on, people! But nevertheless, it looks really like a lot of fun. It's going to be directed by Kenneth Branagh, and it comes out on November 18th. I think November 18th, or wait, I think it's November 18th. So I'm excited. I think that it's a really great way to announce this with basically the shot going through where we see all the litany of characters and seeing all the famous faces playing them. It's just a really solid way of doing that. That's what I was hoping they would do, something like that. I can't wait.
Yeah, I really like the kind of overall like atmosphere and tone of the trailer. It looks like they're going to have fun with it while also still playing on that like kind of serious aspect of the murder and whatnot. It does have like that feeling of Clue back in the 80s, so I kind of like that. I like the fact that we have a movie in 2017 that kind of reminisces in that kind of like fun whodunit kind of atmosphere, because those movies aren't really made nowadays. So I'm kind of glad that I believe it's 20th Century Fox. They're taking a risk on it. But like what Joel said, it's based on a very popular book. It's got a great all-star cast. It's got a great director who directed a lot of great things, whether talk about his Shakespearean days or talk about his modern stuff like Thor. Kenneth Branagh knows how to direct a movie, and I think he's probably the right person to do this, because this trailer kind of feels Shakespearean. It kind of feels like like a Hamlet or Romeo and Juliet type of deal, or it feels like a stage play. So I think he was the perfect pick for this, and I might be the greatest detective in the world. His mustache will probably get nominated for Best Supporting Actor. It's going to be fantastic. But the one thing that is worrisome is Johnny Depp does kind of look like his Mordecai character a little bit. Now, yeah. I never saw Mordecai, but I've seen the trailer, and that was more than enough for me. But just looking at that, I was like, oh no, that's Mordecai all over again. So, but I know that he's going to be under good hands with a great supporting cast and a great director. So I'm not too worried about it. It's just I'm poking fun. But the trailer. Do what?
He does look like Mordecai, but. Yeah.
A little bit, but yeah,
I don't want to give anything away here, but yeah.
No, the trailer looks great. I like the nice long tracking shot, dollying down the hallway, and it's just you get to see all the faces and you get to see what the profession is. So this is the doctor, this is the assistant. It's cool. It sets you up for this type of murder mystery that you're about to get into, and so it was almost like going to one of those murder mystery like dinners or whatever, like that they actually have where you like go to a hotel or whatever, you have dinner or whatnot, and then someone is suspiciously disappeared and you have to go figure it out, and it's kind of like an escape room where you have to work with all the other people and whatnot, and you have to figure out the mystery. So yeah, it looks great. But all right, so moving on to the next trailer, which I had no idea he was even existing. I never saw the first one. Still need to do that, and I believe Netflix still has it. But Paddington 2 is coming out. So if you did not have enough of that cute, adorable fucking bear, then guess what? You got a sequel coming. I can't really comment on it because I never saw the first one, so I can just kind of judge it from the trailer's sake. The trailer looks nice. It looks cute. It looks like a nice little fun family picture. Some of the jokes worked for me. I really liked kind of the breaking in joke with that nice long wide shot. I thought that was kind of cool. Paddington, the CGI looks really good and stuff. Like I said, I liked the trailer to the first one, like the first Paddington. I just haven't gotten around to it, so that's kind of my fault. But I want to get around to it when the sequel comes out, especially if Joel and I get like an invite or something. I want to be caught up. But yeah, it looks cute. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Joel, I can't really add any more because I don't have like an established like love for it or kind of feeling for it since I never saw the first one. Did you see the first Paddington? And if you did, what'd you think of it, and what'd you think of this trailer?
I did. I didn't see the first Paddington in theaters. I caught up with it on...
So Joel and I are terrible critics. You should not listen to us anymore. We're not professional. We didn't do our jobs.
Yeah, the first one's good. It's a really sweet movie. There's a thoughtful element to it as well that's really nice. It's not just a bunch of madcap adventures, although those work. The bear's a really neat creation. He's voiced by Ben Whishaw. And this one actually adds 2 members to the cast. Hugh Grant looks like a lot of fun here. And then Brendan Gleeson is added. But the other primary cast, except for Nicole Kidman, is back. There's Hugh Bonneville. And anyway, so it looks really sweet. This was another announcement trailer. It was barely a minute. I think it wasn't even a minute. But it does look very good, and it comes out in November. I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'm gonna definitely review that one that week. So I'm excited. Definitely get around to the first one. It's quite sweet. Very good natured movie.
Yeah. Hey, listen. This is actually a true story. Every single time when I go see my girlfriend, of course, I take long flights and whatnot. So sometimes when you take American, sometimes you take the gamble, and they might have the TV on the back of the seats, or they might not. So when they don't, I want to make sure I download movies from Netflix so I have them on there so I can watch them on the plane. And I downloaded Paddington every single time. It's just every single time I've gotten on the plane, they'd have a TV on the back of the screen and I watch something else. But like I always had Paddington ready to go to watch. But yeah, I'll definitely get around to it because I do like good, wholesome family movies and whatnot to take a nice break from all the dark, dreary shit that Joel and I watch. And so it's nice to see something uplifting and just nice and sweet. So Paddington 2 coming out. Joel, can we please, for the love of everything that is fucking holy, can we talk about this last trailer very quickly, bury it in the ground, shoot it, and then we can put the dirt on top of it so we can move on to a better movie?
Shoot it, huh? Okay.
Yeah, but we'll shoot it. We're going to bury it, then shoot it. Because that's how we were. We're terrible mob men, by the way. We're terrible gangsters.
We are. But yeah, I mean, we mentioned it earlier in the episode. It's Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarfs. This is about Snow White as a less thin person being, I guess, stalked by 7 dwarfs who are really perverted. This trailer was hideous. I sat there with my mouth open the entire time. It's just bad, and that's all I'm going to say about it. We kind of covered what the movie was about, sort of. But yeah, it's just a bad trailer. It's another one of those announcement trailers, and it's just I'm not looking forward to this thing. Really, really not. The characters don't look likable. I'm not a fan of the concept at all. I'm not a fan of how the ad campaign has targeted that premise. This thing is just awful. So I'm not seeing it. I'm saying that right now. I may rent it way down the line or something. I don't know if I'm bored or if it's on Netflix. Maybe I'll do that. I'm not sure, but I'm not willingly seeing this to review it. So that's all I'm going to say.
So before we shoot it and bury it, let me drag it up from the dead and punch it in the face first. This trailer, no fucking thank you. First of all, like Joel said, the premise is very perverted, very creepy. It doesn't even look like a good kids movie. It just looks so weird, and it's made from Shout Factory, and the animation kind of, if you guys want to like paint a picture, it's kind of like Hoodwinked meets and had sex with Romeo and Juliet, but worse. So that's what it looks like. It's got like that weird kind of 3D, like very basic animation, like someone had like $20, they bought a piece of software and they made a movie out of it, and the backgrounds look so stale and boring and out of focus, and they just they have the characters in the forefront. It's that terrible animation that you just kind of look at and roll your eyes at and go, there's studios out there that actually try. And then you look at this and you're like, they're not actually trying. So I hope this movie fails in every single way. I hope it gets terrible reviews. I hope it does not make any money. I hope Chloe Grace Moretz can like find all the copies and burn it, scratch her name off of it, do whatever she has to do because it looks terrible, looks god-awful. I don't want to ever talk about this piece of shit movie again. And for all those marketers out there that decides that this was the great way to approach this movie, guess what? You can go sit on a cactus, and I'll leave it at that. All right, so that is it for the trailers, guys. What is your favorite trailer of the week? Joel, I have to ask, do I even have to ask, is it Murder on the Orient Express? Is that your favorite of the week?
No, I would say my favorite of the week is Logan Lucky.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's close between the two, but I think of trailer construction, I like Logan Lucky more. It's just a really exciting trailer. I'm excited for both, though.
I'll give you that, yeah, because you're right. Murder on the Orient Express, like you said, is more of an announcement trailer. So I'd say my pick is probably Logan Lucky for sure, because that, once again, I knew that was coming out. I knew Soderbergh was doing it, but it still came out of nowhere for me in terms of how good the quality was on the trailer. So speaking good quality movie, let's get into the main thing of the podcast this week. Yes. What you guys all tuned in for. You guys basically sat here for an hour and 15 minutes, and you're like, oh, god damn it, get to the movie review. All right, we're getting to it. So, Joel, would you like to introduce the movie and tell us a little bit of the plot and who's in it and director and all that stuff?
Yeah, we are revisiting Suicide Squad.
Oh, perfect. Joel, can you do the infamous line from Will Smith? This is some kind of Suicide Squad.
We're just some kind of Suicide Squad, huh? I'm just kidding. No, we're talking.
Joel might have seemed like he botched that line, but he actually delivered it better than the line in the movie. So.
No, but we're talking about Wonder Woman. This comes from director Patty Jenkins. It's actually her first movie since Monster back in 2003, starring Charlize Theron, that won her the Oscar. Anyway, this is the newest film in the DC Extended Universe, and it follows Diana Prince. Well, sort of just Diana Prince's nickname that's given later on, but Diana of Themyscira. She is an Amazonian woman who has been raised on an island in a mystical force field in the middle of the Atlantic, and she is kind of drawn into a plot involving a doctor trying to make some poison in World War I for the real-life General Ludendorff. He was an actual historical figure, not something that people are fully aware of, I don't think. This movie sort of rewrites him as, well, you'll see. I'm not going to reveal a whole lot here, but nevertheless, she believes that Ares, the god of war, has some sort of reign over it, and then you can take it from there. Go see the movie. This one stars Gal Gadot, of course, as Wonder Woman, or Diana, I should say. They don't really call her Wonder Woman here. That's going to be probably later on. She'll get that name from the populace as usual. But nevertheless, she plays Diana, really good performance. And then you have Danny Houston as Ludendorff. You've got Chris Pine as the American spy in the German forces, who kind of happens upon her island somehow. And various, co-stars, Saeed Taghmaoui, or I don't know how to say his name. And then Eugene Brave Rock and Ewan Bremner play a few mercenaries that are hired on. And yeah, that's kind of the gist. There's a lot that I'm hiding here, of course, including some of the stars of the movie. But yeah, it's the new big release of the week. That was a terrible introduction. I'm going to give it over to Chase. What did you think of the movie?
No, Joel, that was absolutely wonderful. It was actually, it was a Wonder Woman of a comment. So, just give you guys a little backstory. I always do this with like franchises, and we do these with comic book movies and whatnot. I'm gonna start back all the way to 2013. Saw Man of Steel, absolutely loved it. I actually think that's the best interpretation of Superman. I do not like the corny Christopher Reeves save a cat from a tree and then go buy a kid some ice cream or something. I don't like that. I don't like the corny and cheesiness. I like the dark shit, and I actually think that was a good representation of Superman. So when that movie came out, I was super excited to kind of see where this universe was going to go, because they said that they were going to kind of, introduce all these characters again and really kind of establish this universe, because, after the Dark Knight trilogy, they were kind of lost. They were like, oh man, we don't know where to go. And so they're kind of, found their footing with Man of Steel. Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice comes out. I like the theatrical cut, but I actually don't want to watch it ever again, because I love the Ultimate Cut. That's where I actually think the 3-hour-long R-rated cut of BVS Dawn of Justice is actually far superior than the theatrical version. So, at this point in time, I was 2 for 2. I was like, yes, like I'm liking what they're doing. Then we get to Suicide Squad. I saw that movie twice. So, when I see a movie twice, I can kind of, establish, if I like it or not. When I first saw Suicide Squad, I was like, it was fine, I guess. But when I saw it a second time, it just annoyed the fuck out of me. I don't want to ever watch that movie again. So at this point, they were 2 for 3. So I was like, okay, so there's still, 66% of the, popular vote for me. I'm okay with that. So when Wonder Woman was coming out, I liked the trailers. I thought they were, they looked cool. They looked like they had a nice visual aesthetic to it. And Joel and I have covered the trailers on the show and whatnot. And it just, they were cool. And I was like, I'm excited for it. And, I'm excited for any comic book movie. This is the third one we're getting this year. In a row. You had Logan in March, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 in May, and this in June, and then, of course, the other 3 are coming out later. But, going into Wonder Woman, I'm sure many critics were very hesitant because, a lot of people were divisive on Man of Steel, BVS, and Suicide Squad. So I was really worried to see how people would like it. The press screening was a couple weeks before the release date. Now, they couldn't review it, but all the reactions started coming out, and everyone seemed to really like it. So I was like, okay, that is very encouraging. I like to hear those words. As the days progress, they have more and more screenings. Then the embargo lifts on the review. Everyone seemed to love it. And I was like, holy shit. Maybe this is the first one that from the DCEU that everyone seems to genuinely enjoy. So going into it, I was like super hyped now. Now, of course, Joel saw it before me because Joel sees everything before me on Thursday night unless we see it together. So I knew that he already saw it and stuff. So, and we don't tell each other like what we think of the movies and whatnot that we see until this very moment. Live for you guys is when we express our feelings towards a movie. So I saw it yesterday morning. And keep in mind, I have no car. I woke up at 7. Got on the train at 7:45 to catch a 9:30 show. I got back home at 2 p.m. It's like a 6-hour-long journey. But I gotta tell you, it was fucking worth it. I really like Wonder Woman. Borderline almost love it. I'm seeing it again literally in an hour and a half. And so I'll have my definitive decision then. But until then, I really, really like this movie, and I can't wait to kind of dive in depth. So, Joel, just give me that straight up one answer. Did you hate it? Did you think it was okay? Did you like it? Did you really like it, or did you love it?
I liked it. Okay. So going through the same litany of kind of the movies so far, I'll lead up to it like you did. I really like Man of Steel. I've really liked it since I saw it. I've seen it several times since then to make sure that I wasn't crazy for liking it after the critical backlash. But I'm a big fan. I think it's a really good movie. Batman v Superman, the theatrical cut, I liked in theaters when I saw it. But then I think I've voiced this before a couple times, but I saw the Ultimate Cut later on. And it kind of makes the theatrical version useless. Kind of makes it a big trailer for the Ultimate Edition. So I would definitely watch that one before watching the theatrical version again. I don't even think I own the theatrical version, but nevertheless, Suicide Squad was a mess. I reviewed that on the show. I do not like that movie at all, one bit. And so this one, I was going into hesitantly. Even after the critical reception, I was a little more excited, but I was still cautious, just simply because I had been deceived twice over. by DC, and I almost called them Marvel just now. I don't know what's wrong with me today. Anyway, nevertheless, I was a bit cautious, optimistic but cautious, and I liked it. I think it's quite a good movie. So I'm excited to get into it a little bit more.
Yeah, let's do it. So I'll go ahead and start this off. And I was talking with my girlfriend yesterday because she actually saw it before me, which is very weird because usually I see pretty much everything before her. But she saw it before me, and she said she really liked it as well. And she's not really a comic book type of person. She doesn't really care for those types of movies. So that's kind of like the first point I want to bring up is that this is a movie that appeals to everyone. Like, it appeals to comic book fans, it appeals to DC fans, it appeals to families. Like, there's some risque humor, but for the most part, it's a very... you could take your family to it, and I wouldn't see a problem. Hell, if you could take your family to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Civil War, like, you can take them to this. But also, it's got the appeal to little kids, and especially little girls, and so you're basically broadening your audience to everyone. And it seems like when you talk to non-comic book fans, comic book fans, kids, adults, whatever, it seems like everyone's really enjoying this movie, and I think that's because of Patty Jenkins' direction. The whole time while I was watching the movie, I had my jaw drop to the floor, because you know how, like, Joel knows this, like, when you watch, like, interviews and stuff, like, directors, I applaud them for being very, what their publicist says to do, but most of them will say, like, I grew up with the comics, I read a lot of them, and you'll watch the movie and be like, I don't know if they really knew the comics that well. But when you, like, talk to, like, a James Gunn, and you realize that, yeah, this motherfucker read some Guardians of the Galaxy growing up. When you watch Wonder Woman, Patty Jenkins read some Wonder Woman comics. All the fight scenes had such a great visual slow-mo feel to it. It was the type of aesthetic to where when you're watching it, you're kind of just astounded that she kind of captured the essence of these Amazonian warriors and these really cool epic battle sequences. And I was just like, wow, she did her research. She knows her stuff. And on top of all that, she creates this character who is very naive at the beginning. She's very untrained. She's very, kind of clumsy. And then she grows into this very powerful woman who does not really care what anyone thinks, and really just kind of leads the charge and leads this, type of rebellion against, the Germans in World War One, and it's kind of inspiring. Like, usually when you watch these superhero films, you're like, yes, I understand what they're doing. It's very, very cool what they're doing, and I understand everything, but there was something a little bit more powerful about what Wonder Woman did and just what she represented, and just the fact that she'd go into a room with a bunch of dudes and just be like, no, you should do it this way because this would probably be the better way and whatnot. So I think Patty Jenkins is the star of this movie, if I had to pick a star, because I think the visual aesthetic that she brings to the film really kind of captures the essence of the comic book while being, stylish, but also being a very powerful, kind of impactful character. Now, I should probably bring this up because I have shit on this decision in the past, and even after watching BVS, I still wasn't sure. I will say this. Gal Gadot, however you want to pronounce it, she is very good in the movie. Now, I need to see more from her in terms of, like, whether she is like one of the best actresses. Like, I think she's very good in the movie, and she definitely carries the movie, which I was worried about, but she definitely did it. So she definitely proved me wrong. She had a lot of subtlety to her character. She had a lot of character growth, which I didn't think was possible for her, because once again, she's not like, this world renowned actress, so I didn't know she could be able to pull off those, like, type of emotions and, like, kind of small expressions on her face and whatnot. But I think she did a very good job as well. So I think, Patty Jenkins is a star, and Gal Gadot is definitely a nice runner up. Joel, did you particularly like Patty Jenkins' direction, and how do you think she kind of handled this character? And just before Joel talks, I actually have never seen Monster. I still need to see it, but after seeing this, it actually entices me to see Monster even more.
Monster is a completely different beast. She's done a lot of, and that was not intended. That pun was not intended, and I swear.
No, Joel spent the whole week planning it out. By the way,
it was not. I literally just realized what I said. No, but it's a different thing entirely. It's a great film. It's actually one of the few films to have made me cry. I'm not just saying that as a badge of honor. I usually am able to separate myself from a movie just enough that it doesn't affect me on that level. But Monster,
Joel, you goddamn robot! Like, would you stop lying to the people? If you fucking cry, just man up, yo.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, it's not a common thing for me. But Monster is one of the few movies to have made me do that. It has moments of raw power. It is a great film. It's a different thing than this. She's done a lot of TV work in the interim. I think there's a superhero show that she's done work on. I think it might have been Arrow. No. Actually, I can't remember, but I know that there's a show that she worked on that would have been a clearer kind of prerequisite for doing Wonder Woman. So knowing that she had worked on whatever show that was, it made me realize, okay, she's kind of the perfect person for this. She's got a history with this genre. Even if it's been on the small screen, this is her first big break, and she handles it with grace. The movie looks dynamic, and I saw it in 2D. I'm generally not a 3D fan, so there were 3 competing 7 o'clock showtimes, and I took the 2D one. And 2D, of course, is always brighter than 3D. That's just scientific fact. 3D darkens the image by 20%. So in 2D, this movie looked vibrant. This is some of my favorite action cinematography in a while, or I should say blockbuster cinematography in a while. I think this movie looks, actually I'll make a good comparison to Guardians of the Galaxy. I think that there's a lot of similarity, maybe not in the color scheme, but in the way that these movies use colors. They're certainly a lot more visually pleasing than stuff like Power Rangers, or, well, the end of Power Rangers, or Pirates of the Caribbean, for instance. I think that this movie is dynamic, vibrant. The cinematography is gorgeous. Her shooting of the action is thrilling, especially an entry into the no man's land in one scene that is absolutely stunning. I think it's going to go down as an iconic scene, probably the iconic scene attached to Wonder Woman. I think that scene's going to do it, and it's all about how she frames and composes the images. It is absolutely amazing. So you're absolutely right. I think that Patty Jenkins is the star, but equally, I think Gal Gadot is the star. She is able to take a character who has to consider everything around her with reserve, with patience, with quiet. She's asked not to emote a lot with her face, and that's a crucial thing because that's how the character is. She's very much a soldier, and so she's asked.
Which, by the way, like, sorry to cut you off, but I actually think that that is one of the benefits about her being in this movie, Gal Gadot, because she actually was in the military, so she has like that military mindset, and I think that actually plays well with the Wonder Woman character.
Yeah, so you have that, for instance, the moment where she enters, or the moment before she enters the no man's land, when she's kind of laying out why, why she's doing that. She sums up the philosophy of the character in that scene, and I think that obviously that's in large part due to the screenplay by Alan Heinberg, who has a history with the Wonder Woman character, and he understands the philosophy as well. But the second part of it is Gal Gadot's performance. I think that you're right. The history with her service in the military is very important to this character. The character is a soldier. She's got one of those faces. She actually reminds me a lot, in a very good way, of Scarlett Johansson, because Scarlett Johansson is another actress who commands with stillness, and that's a very hard thing to do. So she has a face, and I'm not just saying this because they're both attractive, but they actually do have faces that seem like they come out of paintings, from old like Renaissance paintings.
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, I mean, Joel's right. I will be a man for a second, and I will say that Gal Gadot is a very gorgeous woman, and that actually works in her benefit because she is commanding. Yeah. She could not say a word, and I'm just kind of mesmerized by her, kind of like what Joel said, kind of like her ancient beauty. Like she's actually like she looks like a god that was been alive for thousands of years. So it
absolutely.
works.
Absolutely, and it's a great performance because I think that she is able to convey a lot of really complicated emotion through stillness, and that's very hard to do. I mean, some of the great actors of all time. I think Anthony Hopkins is able to do that in some of his best performances. An actor like Alan Rickman was able to do that. Tom Hanks is able to do that. I think she's in that league, at least in terms of this performance. She needs more roles like this that require her to be that way. I think that she would really find a nice niche in that area. Scarlett Johansson has recently had that. She's had a lot of roles that have required her to be, the still face kind of acting. And so I think that these two women are the stars of the movie. And yeah, I mean, it's. We'll get into the plot in a second. I think that there are some things that have pulled me back from saying it's a great movie. Certainly, with the plotting of the movie is very standard, but the specifics of her journey to the point at which the plot kicks in are the best segments of the movie. These early scenes with her in her domain on this island with her family. Her mother is played by Connie Nielsen, and she's the queen of Themyscira. That's a hard thing to say. And then her aunt is played by Robin Wright, and she is the general of the forces. This island, by the way, is entirely populated by women. So all of the soldiers are women. They all fight with bows and arrows and swords. And Robin Wright plays the general of that. Side note, or sidebar, as they would say on How I Met Your Mother. And I'm sorry for this. This is mostly a joke. This is mostly me being sarcastic. But I could not stop thinking, General Buttercup? Do you get it?
Is that How I Met Your Mother reference?
No.
Oh.
Well, I'm saying how they... sidebar is what they would say on How I Met Your Mother. I'm talking about Princess Bride.
Oh, yeah. No, I was actually going to say that was not Princess Bride, but ironically, House of Cards just dropped last week, so like the new season. So I'm watching that, and like when I was watching Wonder Woman, I was like, dude, Mrs. Underwood's going to like tear some shit up. She's going to bring on Frank to like do some damage, but yeah, no, just to kind of bounce off with what you said about kind of like all the actresses and stuff on the island, I thought they all kind of played their part very well, and I really kind of bought into this kind of mystical island that was covered by this force field, all women, no men or whatever. It really felt like from the comics. It didn't feel hokey, it didn't feel cheesy. It actually felt like this real mysterious place that was in the ocean somewhere that we have no idea even exists. But so Joel, let's get into some of the more positives before we get into the kind of negatives of what about the film, because no film is perfect. But yeah, just a note, kind of going off of what you said about the action, it was just so kind of mesmerizing and just so exciting and exhilarating to watch. Like, I think I shed a tear at one point. I'm willing to admit that. Like, I was just watching some of these action sequences, I kind of shed a tear because I was like, this is like, it was something new and something fresh that we've really never seen before. It really just kind of shows how badass these warriors are, and just really kind of showcases their abilities as these beast of like I said, beast of warriors. So that was, like I said, that kind of plays into Patty Jenkins' direction. Whatnot was like Joel said, the cinematography and the battle sequences and the visual aesthetic of the film, very bright and colorful, and really kind of captures that World War I tone. I really like, whether it be the costumes, the props, or the set design. I really just kind of liked the whole look of it. It really kind of adds that extra kind of World War I flavor to it. You kind of need to if you're going to do period films and whatnot. And then yeah, some of the other cast members, because we've talked about all the actresses and whatnot. I gotta tell you, I don't know who Chris Pine's agent is, but keep doing your thing, because Hell or High Water was great. Star Trek, that franchise is great, and now he's doing this. Like, he's starting to become more popular into the kind of like public eye a little bit, and I really appreciate that, because the chemistry that him and Gal bounce off of each other, it's very very frictiony at first, if you will, and then they start to kind of get more involved into their emotions and whatnot. I thought their acting really kind of brought that to life a little bit. Like, they really seemed like they were these two people that just met, and then they do have this like kind of physical attraction towards each other, and kind of like this emotional attraction. So I kind of bought into it with their performances and whatnot, and I really kind of thought their relationship was genuine. I'll get into some of the negatives in just a second, but I thought Chris Pine, amongst all the other slew of cast members, Danny Huston or whatever, and then a couple others that pop up in the movie. I'm not going to say who, because it's a nice surprise. I didn't even know they were in it, but I think everyone just kind of plays their part very well, and kind of adds kind of like that vibrancy to the movie, because it's not just the color scheme, it's also the performances and the characters as well. So I think that pretty much touches upon the positives. Oh, and then of course Joel, we forgot to mention. Listen, I don't care what you think about BVS, but I gotta tell you, every single time Wonder Woman comes on screen and you hear the dun, 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 I love her theme song. It's so it's very warrior-like, and it really gets your blood pumping as you're watching this shit. So it plays throughout the movie and whatnot, and the theme song really kind of gets you jazzed up. But on top of all that, the score overall is very good, and Jenkins really kind of plays with the music and really plays with your emotions, and she pumps out the music a lot louder than what most directors would do, to really kind of sink you into the scene and really get you invested into the characters and whatnot. So I think for positives, I think I pretty much nailed it. And then, and I guess one last thing. You mentioned the screenplay and the screenwriter. I thought the screenplay was actually really well done. It was a very, very straightforward story, getting from point A to point B to point C to point D. I just thought it actually flowed very, very well, except for a few things, and I'll get to them in the negatives. But I think that wraps up my positives. Joel, to kind of carry off of that, what are some of the other positives that you really liked about the movie?
Yeah, I mean, mostly the same stuff that you've said. I think that we're so far we're pretty much on the right. They're on the same track. It comes back to Jenkins's direction. I think she's just able to capture the appeal of this character, and again grasp the philosophy through those action scenes. I think it's reflected in them. There's not a you get a lot of the modern day action scenes is about the spectacle of the action. There's a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more informing it that I think has to do with the character herself, and that can be attributed back to Jenkins and Heinberg, who I think is able to take a very straightforward story, fill in the gaps of the information with not exposition, but with character details, and genuine character details that we learn, that we see, that it's showing us, not telling us. For instance, that's the best way to describe it, and I think that it's quite good at doing that. And I'll get into the negatives a bit, although in a minute. Although I think that we're going to have to dance around them, because there's some spoilers.
I know. I was about to tell you that. Like, some of my negatives actually involve some of the kind of more plot twisty moments, and Joel will have to, be a referee, and I'll have to be a referee to him, but we're going to try to dance around it as best as we can, because we like to give you guys the full review experience without, rooting for you like Sony does with their trailers.
Yes, exactly. We're going to teach Sony a lesson. Yeah, I mean, it's a good-hearted movie too. It's a good-natured superhero movie, and we get a lot of. We just had one, really. I mean, with Guardians of the Galaxy was also good-natured in that way. It was about the characters. This was about the characters. Logan was about the characters. Even Power Rangers is sort of a superhero movie, maybe not comic book, but it is a superhero movie, and that one tried to be. I know that you thought it was more successful than I did, but it tried to be about the characters. So I think that this year has been different in that respect, and this movie certainly seems to be the center of that. I think it represents quite well what you can do with a superhero movie when you consider the superheroes as characters. They're characters first. We see them a lot as vessels for just action, and this is not the case in this movie. And I'm happy about that. I think that it's unique in that way, even if it isn't quite. I don't think it's quite as unique as people are making it out to be on a narrative level. We'll get into that later, but quite unique in that it is so perceptive about Wonder Woman as a character, about Diana, I should say. I always say Wonder Woman. They never even say the phrase Wonder Woman in this movie. She's not Wonder Woman yet. She is a hero. She's been involved in a very self-contained situation here that's kind of smaller, maybe in a smaller scale than something like Batman v Superman. But at some point we're gonna get to the point where she is known as Wonder Woman, probably in the next one. And nevertheless, Diana as a character is very well rounded here. We get a full sense of her. Now we have to fill in the gap of this and BVS, where we get the feeling that she's a recluse, and I'm very curious about that. How we get to that point will be interesting. Anyway, yeah, I mean it's quite good. Speaking about some of the supporting actors, I quite like Chris Pine here. You're right, he's come a long way, especially considering his first big role was in The Princess Diaries 2. Yeah, no, he was the Prince Charming there. Get it? Okay. No, and then also his next big role was opposite Lindsay Lohan, believe it or not. So he's come a long way since 2000, the mid 2000s. He's really found a good niche as the good guy with some concerns, I guess, if that describes his characters pretty well. He usually plays one of the better people among his group, and this is very much true. He plays a spy with a good heart. I think that the romance that develops between them very slowly is it's well handled, I guess. I do have some problems with that I'll get into later, but nevertheless, good movie, and yeah. So those are sort of my positives. I think that it makes a lot of strides to be sort of lifted above the norm for the superhero movie a bit.
Yeah, and just to do one last positive thing before I kind of crap on it a bit is that this is probably one of the more well-rounded, well-developed superhero characters I've seen in quite some time, because she's, like I said, she's a kid, she's very naive, she becomes this very stern warrior. She's very stern when she's on the island, and when she gets into the real world, she's adapting to it. She realizes that humans are complicated and stuff. It's a very complicated character discovering complications about humanity, and I really enjoy that. However, negative time, here we go, folks. First thing, as much as I like the performances, excuse me, the relationship between Chris Pine and Gal Gadot, and her and some of her family members, I will say that some of the stuff that happens too quickly, to where we don't really have that much of an emotional connection to them, and they're really just kind of selling it on the performances. So that's where, like I said, I have to be as vague as possible, because there's a lot of things that happen in this movie, but a lot of things that happen, they're very detrimental to some of the characters, I will say. It happens too quickly. I think there's not enough time given to where it kind of expands upon them a little bit more. It just it just happens so quickly, so fast, and then it's gone. I will just say that. That's the first thing. The second thing, I don't really care for the twist at the end in terms of the villain. I will only say this, and Joel knows who I'm talking about. The actor's initial, DH, I wish they were the villain of choice not the person that was revealed. I will just say that. Because I think the person that was revealed, I don't really care for that actor as much as I care for DH. I think DH actually has more of a threatening presence, and I really wish to see him kind of carry out, because the way his character goes is very, I will say, abrupt. And like I said, I'm trying to be very choice with my words, and I really wish they would have carried through him versus the other person. And the third and final thing that's kind of a negative, as much as I do like the battle sequences, the first 2 or 3, the very end battle sequence between Diana Prince and the villain, I will say, it's very CGI heavy-ish. It kind of reminded me of a couple bad sequences and shots in BVS where it was very just so green screen heavy. It does not look good. So it kind of takes you out of the movie a little bit. And that goes to some of the other green screen shots. There's a couple of them that are like questionable. And then the other thing, the last final thing, I know this is a very, very small nitpick, but actor DH, once again, Joel knows who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There is a line that is said in the middle of the movie when they do something that was so over the top and hammy. I was like, that was an outtake. Like, it sounded like an outtake, and I was like, there's no way that made the final cut. And on top of all that, the assistant to DH's character, I thought she was over the top and hammy just a hair, and really kind of took me out. But other than that, I really, really like this movie, and I can't wait to watch it again. But those are my negatives. Joel, am I crazy? Are those negatives warranted? What do you think about them? And what are some of your negatives?
We're pretty much on the same track. I will disagree with you on the second actor you're talking about. The acting, at least. I don't like the material involving that character. I think it's very abrupt and honestly kind of predictable. I called it pretty early on, but I like the actor's performance because it's so unassuming. And so the switch to crazy is really appealingly jarring. It's just the material involving the character is not. I don't like that twist. The first actor you're talking about, I think it's very menacing. I actually think he might have done something very I think he might have made a conscious choice to deliver some of the lines in a way that does not sound human. There are some.
I understand, like, because I was thinking about that. Like, I understand that from that standpoint, knowing who the person is. But it just came like when you have such a good, movie going, and like the action is really well handled, the characters are well done, the acting is so good, and then you have like those couple moments. It's like it kind of takes you out for a hair.
I'm not talking about that line of dialogue. I know what you're talking about in that line of dialogue. That was really over the top. There are some other lines of dialogue where he sort of growls the words, and in the lower register of the growl, it sounds very inhuman, and it's really.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, where he's like he goes into an extremely low register, and it's really neat to hear him go into that register in the moments because of where we think the narrative is at right now, and the fact that he sounds inhuman kind of is another reason why the weird shift in the plot is so jarring. But I mean, yeah, it's kind of the stuff with the villains is the stuff that doesn't work in this movie, as well as the stuff with Diana and the mercenaries. In fact, I think the whole middle of the movie is a bit problematic in that way because on the one hand you have the middle of the movie actually kind of reminded me of Thor in that you have this godlike figure learning the ropes in the mortal world, if you will, or the more mortal world than what hers is, in a very fish out of water comedy kind of thing, where she's learning to she's trying on the outfits and wondering what the combat readiness of them is. I thought that was really funny, that whole stretch. And then you have it intercut with the usual stuff with the villains, involving some sort of MacGuffin that has really no importance at the end of it that I can find. And so it's really the stuff with the villains here that doesn't work. whether it be, like you said, the assistant person um, to the first actor that you're talking about, or the twist that brings in the other actor. It just doesn't work. And then I will agree with you as well on that last action scene. I think it's interesting because again, I saw it in 2D, so it was a bit brighter than it might have been in 3D, and I can't imagine how dark it was in that. But nevertheless, it's not a great scene. I mean, there's some of the spirit of the Wonder Woman character remains, and I like.
It almost feels hollow. Like, it just feels like a very hollow scene that had, like, no impact whatsoever.
Yeah, and it was just the villain confrontation, which is the usual thing for the superhero movie nowadays, but it did feel a bit hollow. I liked how Jenkins was able to shoot the Wonder Woman character against a backdrop that's bright. So, like, there's a lot of fire in the scene, and so you had some I'll say, like, Michael Bay kind of shots. I'm not comparing this to Michael Bay in terms of the action, but
no, you heard it here, folks. Joel said it. Please write that down. It's on the internet forever. He said it. You go take it and run with it. And yeah, Joel, whatever he says is truth on here.
No, but I mean, you had like the and I'm gonna wrap this up because we gotta finish for your sake. But Michael Bay was a big fan of the canted shot from the waist, upward, and you have a lot of shots like that toward Wonder Woman, so that it makes her look like this mythical figure, and I really like that choice. But really, I mean, that's the only highlight of that scene. It's kind of a bland, just here's the hero fighting a CGI glob, and that's kind of the gist of that scene. And it was a bit underwhelming, and so and generally speaking, again, I kind of hinted at this, but a sort of kind of negative is that really, like, aside from the particulars involving the character of Diana, the plot is very standard for a superhero movie. This is a system that works, and it's worked since 1989, really, with Batman. But the superhero origin, I feel like people need to kind of spruce it up a bit. Because they didn't really do it here. It's very much introduce the hero, incite the plot with involving the villains and all that, and then have the villain confrontation. That's the movie. It's not hugely like groundbreaking in terms of what it does for the genre, beyond the fact that of course it makes female superheroes bankable finally. Not that they shouldn't have been before this, but. Nevertheless, it's a very standard but good superhero movie, and yeah. So, what are your final thoughts and your grade, kind of quickly?
Yeah, just real quick before I wrap up and say my grade is that first of all, I know Joel and I are complaining about the villain so much. I want people to keep this in mind, knowing who the villain is and where kind of like their background comes from and like culture. The villains are well developed because they have a one set like they have a one set mind. So like the villains themselves were fine in terms of their goals and objectives. It was just the way they kind of portrayed them in terms of the actors and kind of how they switched it within the story. So I just want to put that out there. And second of all, I like the fact that Kevin Spacey and Robin Wright are getting more work besides House of Cards, because that show is amazing and they deserve more work. And Kevin does get a lot of work, but I thought Robin Wright was a little wasted in this movie. That's all I'll say. I love her as an actress, and her talents are just far beyond anything that you can comprehend. But like, it's just, I thought she was a little wasted. All right. Anyways, to wrap it all up, Patty Jenkins, what she delivers us, what I think you wrapped it up actually very well, is that it's a very standard superhero movie, but it's a very good standard. So it's like, it's a very kind of average standard superhero movie, but it's done in such a way and such a care that it's a little bit more superior than the average one. So it's a good standard. I thought her direction was immaculate. I thought she captured that comic book very well and have like kind of that over-the-top type of fantasy action sequences which work for these type of characters who are these like godlike warriors. And I thought the human elements were very good. I thought the overall story was very, very well handled in terms of the character and how she, the whole fish out of water scenario. I thought that was really well handled. The villains are where it kind of loses me a little bit. Some of the action sequences towards the end are a little, questionable, and some of the rushed sequences of, relationships of people and how they come and go are a little bit rushed. But for the most part, it's a very good movie, and I've been battling this ever since I saw it yesterday, whether I would give it a B+ or an A-. But I gotta tell you, as I keep talking about with like the villains and stuff, it's just I can't do it. So once I see it again, I might change my mind. But for right now, on a first time view, I'm gonna give it a B+. And I know a lot of people might say the same thing when I gave my score for Logan, because I gave Logan an A+. I seriously think it's the best interpretation of that character, and it's one of the best superhero movies ever made. And a lot of people might harken back on that review and go, well, you said the villains weren't all that, and a bag of potato chips and whatnot, and so you gave that an A+. But the problem is, with Wonder Woman, is that you have to have a good villain to combat Wonder Woman. It just was kind of a little lackluster. With Logan, 2 decades into that character, it was more about him and Professor X than the villain, so I was willing to let bygones be bygones. So that's kind of that's what my reasoning is. So I'm going to give Wonder Woman a solid B+. Like, I might jump it up to an A-. So I'm kind of stuck in between right there. So B+ for me. Joel, what are your final thoughts and your grade for good old WW from DC?
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty standard superhero movie, but it's a good standard. It's a good variation on that the genre tropes. I think that you're right. It's quite good. I was sort of stuck between 2 grades. One would have made it a top 10 contender, sort of on the outside. It wouldn't have probably made the top 10, but it would have been an honorable mention, and then just giving it kind of the highest grade that wasn't quite top 10 contending, but and that's the one I went with. I'm giving it a B. I think it's a solid movie. It has a really strong start, kind of a standard finish, disappointing action scene, but it's a good movie, and I'm hopeful that this can get the DCU back on track, because I'm hopeful for Justice League. I don't think it looks very good, but yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get onto that, but it's a solid B.
Well, right. I mean, just to kind of carry off of that, just real quick, like, I'm not really excited for Justice League either because of the trailers, but after seeing Wonder Woman, I'm actually more excited for it now because, like, I know that they have the capability of making a good one. And for me, personally, this is on a personal level, I think they're 3 for 4 right now. So right now, I think that they've done 75% great and 25% bad. So that's just kind of my standing, but for most people, Wonder Woman is the first great movie from them. So I'm glad that it finally happened for the majority of the public. So it's very exciting, like Joel said, to kind of see it go forward. So what did you guys think of Wonder Woman? Please comment down below my face and let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts as well. Is this your first, great one that you've seen? Is it, are you kind of like me and you liked most of them and not some of them, or, vice versa, whatever? Just let me know down below. Joel, we didn't discuss this offline, but we're going to go ahead and just discuss it on air because we're not professional this way. Were you going to do the box office numbers, or I was going to?
Oh, I'm going to.
Okay, so you're going to make me guess.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch. Okay. You got the numbers up? Yeah.
Did you didn't look, right?
I have not looked. I don't know what the numbers are. I don't know the standings, and so So this is the box office results, guys. We're gonna guess the top 5 for you, kind of read them off with numbers and whatnot, let you know how they're doing, and then we'll wrap up the shindig. So Joel, I'm gonna go ahead and say, because and here's the game we like to play, is that Joel and I can at least ask how many movies came out per weekend. So the movies that came out were Wonder Woman and Captain Underpants, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to say number 5. I'll say number 5, Captain Underpants. I'll say number 4. No. Fuck. No. I'll switch that. I'll say number 5. No. Wait, this is tough because I'm contemplating on Alien Covenant and Baywatch. So I will say I will say Captain Underpants got number 5. I will say Alien Covenant is number 4. Pirates of the Caribbean is number 3. No. Sorry. Number 3 is. Oh, number 3 is Guardians. No, shit. Hold on, folks. We're gonna get this. Fuck. Wait a minute. What's the standing then? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's what I'm gonna go with. Number 5, Captain Underpants. Number 4, Alien Covenant. Number 3, number 3 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Number 2 is Pirates of the Caribbean, and number 1 is Wonder Woman. Joel, did I get a perfect score? And if so, please give me a pat on the back and a handshake.
You did not.
Shit.
At all.
Okay, so at least I got one of them right.
Okay, so Alien Covenant is no longer in the top 5. It's number 6.
That's bad. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, it's number 6. It got $4 million this weekend for a total of $67.2 million. All right, so number 5 we have Baywatch. That made $8.5 million this weekend, for a total of $41.7 million. It has a budget of $69 million. I don't think it's open in very many international markets, so it's only, I think, at $43 million. Oh no, what am I talking about? I'm sorry. It's at $67 million worldwide, and then so I guess it did open for him. Anyway, that's number 5. And since I wasn't on the show last week, I had originally planned to, but work intervened. I did not like Baywatch at all. I gave it a D+. It's a bad movie. I don't think I was quite as down on it as Chase was, but it's bad. Number 4 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. This weekend it made $9.7 million for a total of $355.5 million. With a $200 million budget, it's got to make $500 million worldwide to break even. It is at $816.6 million right now, so that's doing okay. And then number 3 is Pirates of the Caribbean: Dead Men Tell No Tales. That was another one that came out last week. I wasn't on the show to tell you all that it's not very good either. I gave it a C. That made $21.6 million. For a domestic... Okay. I'm going to actually have to reverse this, because I got to tell y'all first that this movie's killing it in the foreign market. It's made $386.6 million elsewhere, but domestically it's not doing very well. It's made $114.6 million, for a total of $501 million worldwide. Number 2... Yeah. Number 2 is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie.
What the fuck? That actually made a lot of money? I thought, dude, there was like no buzz about it. I didn't think that movie would touch the top 5 at all, like barely at number 5 even.
Yeah, it made $23.5 million this week. It has a budget of $38 million. Wow. So it is doing really well. People are saying that it's not doing well. It is. DreamWorks is going to be fine. All right, and then number 1 was Everything. I'm just kidding.
That made a comeback. Good for it.
Yeah, there we go. No, it is Wonder Woman with $100.5 million.
Yes.
And it has a budget of $149 million. So of course you got to double that. I'm going to go exact, $298 million. And then you got to add on about $100 million. So it's got to make about $400 million. I think it's going to be fine. It's already made $223 million worldwide. So it's already almost about halfway there. Well, more than halfway there. So that is the box office this week. We've also got some one major thing that I just want to say, that as of a few weeks ago, all 3 of these movies were in the top 10. A couple of them were in the top 5. But somehow, over the weekend, The Boss Baby, Beauty and the Beast, and The Fate of the Furious all fell out of the top 10.
Yeah, finally.
It was just all at once. And King Arthur is somehow number 10. So, yeah, just crazy. But again, Fate of the Furious is not really doing great. It's a juggernaut worldwide, but domestically it hasn't even made $250 million yet. It's still at 223. So anyway, those are some of the big things. I guess another notable thing, and then we'll wrap this up, is despite the fact that it's been out on Blu-ray for a few weeks, Get Out is still in the top 25. It is at number 24, and it made $72,000 this week in theaters for a total of $175 million domestic.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and worldwide it's at $246 million. So, I mean, that, Jason Blum, gotta hand it to the guy. Made a juggernaut with $4.5 million. And yeah, so that's the week's box office news.
Yeah, it's very, very diverse, very surprising. I didn't think Captain Underpants would even do that well, but hey, good for it. It is definitely.
I guess I should say I also saw Captain Underpants. I have a review of that up on my website now. I'm not a fan. It's lightly amusing, much like the books, but it doesn't really do a lot more than that. And it really disappoints by kind of taking everything to an action scene at the end. But I won't get into that. I gave it 2 stars on my website. I guess C- or C or something in letter form. But yeah, well, it wasn't very good. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, Captain Underpants will always just have the stigma of being that one book that Joel and I maybe got at a 4th grade book fair once, and we didn't know what the fuck it was, but we got it because there was a huge, fat, obese man with a pair of underpants. So there you go, guys. That is episode 185. Thank you for tuning in for almost the actual time length of the movie Wonder Woman. we recorded for 2 hours and 11 minutes, and we'll wrap it up here shortly. But for next week, episode 186, we will be reviewing Tom Cruise and his terrible ADR scream in The Mummy, and that will be the main review for next week. I see it on Tuesday. Joel sees it on Thursday, so it'll be a lot of fun. And then, so that will be next week, so tune in for that. Joel, where can the people find you online?
Well, I sort of mentioned my website. That's joelandfilm.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Copling_Joel. I'm on Letterboxd, and we also both write for DallasMovieScreenings.com. I haven't reviewed anything for that in a while, but nevertheless, we're featured on there, and that's where I am.
Yeah, if you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's at RealChaseLee. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course, follow on Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and spread this around and let people know. Hey, listen, it's a decent podcast. It's fine. It's passable. It's a Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales. So yeah, we will see you guys next week for episode 186. 186. I almost said 85. We're getting close to the episode 200. It's going to be quite spectacular. Andy, also 4-year anniversary. Holy fucking tit shit. I can't believe we've been recording for that long. But we'll see you guys next week for another episode of Rima and Colin Movie Podcast. And hey, listen, all the links in the description will be below, and the intro and outro music is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. Check them out as well. You can just find all the links in the description. Peace out, everyone. You guys are fucking awesome. And just to cap it all off with this episode, we are number 10 on the Spreaker movies section, so that's pretty fucking awesome. So keep that going, guys, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye. Let's play the outro music. Peace.